Hi, I'm Paul Faris. I'm very honored to be selected to the Hall of Fame for wrestlers, wrestling coaches and wrestlers. How I got involved in wrestling, that's one of the first things we'll talk about. I was not a wrestler to start with. I went to Downers Grove High School, which is now Downers North. Had a great wrestling program. I was a football player, a pretty good football player and a weightlifter. But I played basketball until my sophomore year, or end of my sophomore year. The wrestling coach got a hold of me and a bunch of my friends as well that played football with me, convinced me to wrestle. I was very strong. I was the strongest kid in the school already at that point, basically from the weightlifting. But I found out there's a lot more to wrestling than just pure strength. So it helped me. I had a pretty decent season in the West Suburban Conference. Got injured my senior year, so I didn't get a chance to finish a full season. So, and I only wrestled 3 years when I went to college too. I went to North Central College and I actually transferred in over there. Wrestled there, did well, but I wasn't a world beater. But after I graduated, I went to Hinsdale South and was a football coach there. And they didn't even have wrestling openings. But what I would do is I was a gymnastics coach, which was really unusual for a guy as big as I was and as buff as I was at the time. But I used to go in and work out with the heavier weight wrestlers after their practice and wrestle with them and kind of just encourage them to wrestle because I loved the sport so much. And as I did more of that, I really became very infatuated with wrestling. It's just, I'm still doing it and still love to live wrestle even at this stage. I'll be 72. And I still love the sport for the physical part of it. And also there's nothing quite like the mental part and the preparation you need in wrestling. So I've been doing it at different places. I've coached at Hinsdale South High School as a head coach. I've coached at Wheaton North High School, and once I left Hinsdale South actually to go into the business world as a commercial artist. And I've always had that role of trying to work my art job around wrestling. And so sometimes I'd volunteer coach like I did at Wheaton North and wrestled with some of their big guys. And one year they had 3 or 4 good heavyweights in the room and heavier weight kids. And one of them was a state champ, one of them was 4th the next year, another one was 5th. So I got to work out with those guys all the time, and I enjoyed that part of it. I didn't have any heavy-duty responsibilities with organization or running tournaments or anything, so I'd show up, I'd work with the guys and show them how to wrestle. And I got better at it myself and just loved the sport. After Wheaton North, then I actually had a friend named Al Kaltoven, who's a Hall of Fame guy himself from the College of DuPage. He had kids in his room that were big, and he asked me to come over and work out with them. It wasn't all the time because I had a job as this commercial artist that was so very time-consuming, but I had some flexibility so I could get in and practice with him. And then from there, I ran into the head coach at North Central College where I wrestled, and he was talking about his bigger guys in his room, and he asked me if, after seeing me wrestle with the big guys at College of DuPage, he asked me if I'd be willing to come over and work with their guys. So I went over to North Central College, and for 12 years I was there with Coach Jim Miller, who's now the athletic director there, and he's one of the finest human beings I know, just a terrific guy, and he did a great job. We had a lot of fun, and it's a wonderful level to coach wrestling because you're dealing with fairly adult kids already, and they love to wrestle, not because of scholarship money or anything like that. They just love to wrestle. So I did that for 12 years, as I said, and then I got a call from the principal at Plainfield Central High School, and he had asked me if I would come and apply for the wrestling job there. Mick Zabosnik, who was a Hall of Famer, was retiring, and I was actually, I think, 5 years older than Mick, but the people in Plainfield knew me because I was active in their youth programs over there, and so in addition to coaching at North Central College. So I was over there for 5 years, and then I basically thought I retired. We had a state champ last year, Ryan Prater, and that was kind of a nice wrap to my career, I thought. And so I retired, and then stayed in teaching for a little while. But I had a grandson that was getting into wrestling, and he was very excited about it. Long story short, he ended up going to Wheaton North for 3 years, transferred his senior year to Montini, because he worked out at Izzy Style, and he won the state his senior year. And again, with my coaching, although when Izzy asked me to coach over there, again, it was work with the bigger guys. I rarely got to even work with my grandson at all. But that's how the arrangement for me to coach at Montini happened. As far as so that's basically my wrestling career. I'm still at Montini. I don't know how many more years I'll do it because I still insist on wrestling. And we've gotten very good kids over there. Well, they've always been good, but now we've got a state champion 195-pounder and a heavyweight that had 35 pins this year. And, so it's pretty challenging to go in there and physically work with these guys. But it's fun. They're great kids. As far as people I'd like to thank, certainly my wife I got to go #1 with because she's put up with all this time away. That this is, instead of playing golf, I guess I wrestle, and I go to all the wrestling clinics and all the different Sunday tournaments and the freestyle stuff, all that stuff. And she's an accountant and a financial planner, so our seasons are somewhat compatible. When you wrestle, you're doing the winter season for the most part, and of course it goes year-round in some ways. But she's very, very tolerant about it because she's very busy with tax season. So it's worked out very, very compatibly for us, at least up until now. So and then of course my parents were successful. When I started to wrestle, they didn't know anything about it, and they encouraged me to do it because they liked what the coach stressed about what wrestling meant. And what wrestling means, the psychological part about wrestling is incredible, and there's nobody else to blame. That's the key thing. You're out there, you got to take on the world. That's what it feels like too. You're having a legal street fight in front of your friends and relatives, and that puts heavy-duty pressure on you. So you have to learn how to deal with it. And that's kind of life, and it really does transfer. So those are the main things that my reflection on this year. But this experience here, this Hall of Fame, I've gone to this a few times. It's a wonderful thing they do, but it's always very humbling. You see how many great people that go through this and are selected and inducted. It's pretty humbling to realize how much some of these other people have done, and you're in that same company. I'm extremely proud to be part of this group, this elite group.